Is that the main deterrent for cults forming through microsolidarity? Are there other immunizations that you're building into it?
One of them is about transparency. Cults usually thrive in the dark. And one of the fun things about designing the framework is that I get to, like you say, lace a bunch of memes into it. So one of the memes that there's this expectation of distributed rotating leadership, assuming there's a bunch of these micro-solidarity communities around the world operating the same way. Pretty soon, there'll be these memes kind of lying around in culture, which is like, oh, you have inherited a bunch of stuff from micro-solidarity. That tells me a little bit about what I can expect from the leadership there. So it's like transparency, being suspicious of epic purpose, and trying to find meaningful ways to just ground in more pragmatic purposes. Is a big part about creating cultures of authenticity where people can talk about whatever they need to talk about, and they're not feeling constantly hounded by social pressure of like, oh, we don't talk about that. Well, that's not a thing that we can talk about. For example, I would expect in any community, once it starts to mature to a certain point, there should be conversations about leadership and about power and influence, and like, what does this terrain of status look like in this group? And is it distributed the way that we want it? And do people have access when they need it? And if it's not equal, because I don't think it ever is, do we need to take proactive steps to level it out a bit more and give people more opportunities to gain? Talking about status is something that's huge taboo in most groups. I think one of the antidotes to abuse of power is like you bring it out into the open and you make it something that's talked about. Then also the other part is really focusing on empowering the small group. That like the small group's kind of where all the action is, not the large group. It's not about 100 people all surrounding one special figure. It's about a few slightly special figures just creating the context for all the small groups to form. And that's where the attention is. The attention is not on the organizing, hosting people. They're kind of functionary, you know?